MD with PhD, was born in 1974 in Germany. She is a board-certified internal medicine physician with a PhD in pathology and over 25 years of clinical experience. She's the president of AM Medical LLC, an anti-aging clinic dedicated to the reversal of all diseases. She is also the founder of True Blue Medical, developer of Blue Light Wellness Wraps. She is the award-winning author of the book Light Medicine, A New Paradigm, The Science of Light, Spirit, and Longevity, in which a new model of medicine is proposed for all humanity. Dr. Mihalcea wrote the best-selling books Transhuman, The Real COVID-19 Agenda, Volume 1, and Transhuman, Overcoming the Depopulation Agenda, Volume 2. Her research uncovers evidence of self-assembling nanotechnology found in the COVID-19 injections, in live blood of the vaccinated and unvaccinated, as well as in geoengineering fallout. Dr. Anna Mihalcea's research was used for the Ban the Jabs resolution passed in 11 GOP states in the USA and was part of 25 national ARM, American Renaissance Movement, grand jury petitions for crimes against humanity. And it was used as evidence for Dr. Joseph Sanson's writ of mandamus Florida court filing, declaring COVID-19 injections as weapons of mass destruction and requesting immediate removal of these from the market. Today, Dr. Anna Maria Mihalcea is speaking on the topic Self-Assembling Nanotechnology in Live Blood, seen using dark field microscopy.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I will start my presentation, and the topic is dark field live blood analysis of self-assembling nanotechnology in human blood and the correlation to the COVID-19 vaccination and other injectable medications. And I want to give a little bit of background information because this is the technocratic transhumanist agenda, and it is about the biodigital convergence of humanity. So what is that? It is meaning the change of human beings, of the bodies, minds, and behaviors, and changing or creating new organisms through synthetic biology to alter ecosystems, to send, store, process, and transmit information, to manage biological innovation, meaning tamper with nature, and to structure and manage production and supply chains. And you can see that these are documents from, for example, the government of Canada. This is merging the biological and digital to creating new hybrid forms of life and technology functioning in the tangible world. But this is also affecting the global transhumanist agenda. And there are many standardization opportunities that discuss how they want to create human digital twins and virtual human twins, which means that this is a multidiscipline digital representation of the human physiology and the pathology that plays an important role for personalized medicine approaches. And what's very important is in the United States, there were documented, for example, the document Cyborg Soldier 2050 that discussed that it will be the medical establishment that will press forward the fusion of humans with technology and make them used to this concept by saying, hey, we're going to cure your diseases, your cancer, your Alzheimer's disease by augmenting you with technology. And what you can see is that is that a lot of the clinical data, the medical records, your lifestyle data through Fitbits, all kinds of genetic data is being utilized through this AI, artificial intelligence computing system, to create as much information about you as is possible, and ultimately link you through the QR code and the digital identity to have absolute and complete surveillance over all living systems on planet Earth. So here you see the European Commission that is discussing Europe's Beating Cancer plan. And here again, you see this personalized medicine that will be applied through performance computer. It's high health data with real-time monitoring, meaning with sensors inside of your body to create a digital twin of each person. And then this algorithm will supposedly help for target screening and prevention strategy, diagnostic and individualized therapeutic concepts. So this is very real, and it's also very real for Europe. And what you can see here, this is the International Energy Commission. And these are the standardization aspects of it, and they are fusing so many different areas of science. So you can see informatics, biosensors, epigenomics, which is genetic material, proteomics, the science of proteins, genomics, transcriptomics, biotechnology, synthetic biology, and all of these aspects like cybernetics, bionics, system engineering, genetic engineering, ecology are part of this biodigital convergence. And even more so, that human augmentation is a critical part of it. So you have, on one hand, geoengineering, because they're spraying the very building blocks of this technology. So humans are inhaling it as well as all of life is inhaling it and is contaminated with it. You have smart farming. Whenever it says smart, it means artificial intelligence controlled. You have environmental monitoring, because they want to basically through smart dust get all of the information from every living microbe on Earth. Biohacking, biorobotics, cyborgs. You see here artificial organs that are being created. Organ and human body on a chip. Eventually, for example, the Department of Homeland Security in the United States has documents that discuss the hospital inside of the body. So nanorobots will perform the surgery. You have medicine, biomedical devices, bioprocessing. So all of this aspect is very complicated because it fuses nanotechnology, neurobiology, cellular biology, genetics, synthetic biology, so many different aspects into their plan. So here is a article from the World Economic Forum, and they have been really pushing this forward through the fourth industrial revolution, discussing how tracking how our bodies work could change our lives. And we're entering the era of Internet of Bodies, collecting the physical data via a range of devices that can be implanted, swallowed, or worn. And all of this without our consent, we must say. This results in a huge amount of health-related data that could improve human well-being around the world and prove crucial in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. So the pandemic was really the reset button for this biodigital convergence. So, but they are saying, hey, there are some risks about that, including privacy issues, of course. Here is the Shape the Future European Commission document that discusses that by 2050, a new form of a human called a transhuman will emerge, where they are fused with technology and have enhanced human intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities. And this is achieved through technological implants that will enhance memory and energy storage. So this is very real that the governments of the world have planned this. And in this document, it states that genetically enhanced human beings will be the majority in the world. And so with these implant techniques and creation of direct nerve connectors and bodies and sensors enhancing the implants, and they're saying it's common practice by 2050, but it has already happened without the consent of humanity. So they are saying that the visual implants will make the blind see, and the hearing implants will make the deaf hear. They will have better senses and biological capabilities, and that the intellectual abilities will also be enhanced. So we know about Elon Musk's Neuralink, but that's already outdated technology compared to what they've deployed already. And the enhancement option and the management of chronic disease will happen through nano devices and biocomputers that will, they say, provide life-extending treatment. I believe that they're being used as biological warfare weapons. They're stating that nanorobots will help diagnosis and treatment of diseases at any age, including pre-birth surgery. And they will be able to read from and write into your biology. So the robots can genetically modify any human being. Similar to nanorobots, the biocomputers will be inoculated. An inoculation means a vaccine. So into the human body to perform complex tasks, for instance, sensing and monitoring the status of organs, repairing tissues at a micro and a nano scale. But the problem with it is that this also means absolute control. So if the artificial intelligence supercomputer sees that your thought process is not what they want, or your biology is not what they want, or you're deplorable, they can stop your heart from inside your body, for example. So they're discussing that this convergence is the ongoing unification of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science. It's brain hacking. So here you can see a networking of nanobiosensors for wireless communication in the blood. This has already been published in the public literature. A lot of this technology has been developed now since the 2000s through the IEEE, International Engineering Society. And one of the leaders is Professor Ian Achildes from Georgetown University, and he discusses the Internet of Bio-Nano Things and using the engineering of biologically embedded computing devices that are interacting with the biological cells and are changing how they're biochemically functioning. They have intra-body sensing and actuation network, meaning they are able to perceive the data, and actuation networks means that they can compute the data as well. And so they are now stating that this is a paradigm shift in communication and network engineering. And so this is a image of how this works, in which a biological cell has been hijacked by literally a technology that has an electromagnetic nanotransmitter within it, a biological nanosensor at the outside, and it can create electronic tattoos in engineered cells. So I just want to show you here an image by Clifford Carnicom. He was my research partner, and we did a lot of research together. I will show a little bit more about it, but what it shows is he was the one who discovered Morgellons and called it cross-domain bacteria. You see here in the urine, after a culture, a microchip development within cells, and the same thing in red blood cells. And this was from the Carnicom Institute. Lipid vesicle-based molecular robots are a reality. So they can create the lipid nanoparticles, and within it, through DNA, can be computations accomplished. And these are sensors that are attached to this lipid nanoparticles. And what it discusses is that this is a new molecular robot, which is used for higher functionality that is also able to sense biomarkers, have signal communication within living cells, and conversion of energy, as well as it is the smallest computer on Earth. It acts on the nanoscale and can perform many computations per setting. So these are can have multiple different structures. These bubbles that you see here can have multiple other nested, for example, nano robots in them, or can be tissue-like. And this right here is an image of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID shot that I analyzed. And what you see here are the liposomes that develop within it. And inside of it are nanorobots. And I will show further images later. But these things are not a delivery mechanism of just, mRNA, as they're saying, because most of the teams worldwide didn't find mRNA, but they are a delivery system for nanotechnology. Here's the Moderna patent that discusses that gels and hydrogels are present within the COVID injection. So the mmRNA is being encapsulated by any hydrogel, which is then injected into the subject, which is the human being. Hydrogels are absorbent. They have a high degree of flexibility, and they are biocompatible, biodegradable, and porous. And what you see here, that self-assembled hydrogels are three-dimensional, and they can be cross-linking and create very complex structures. And they can be utilized in photovoltaics and optics. So what that means is they can sense through optical signals and through computation through photovoltaics. Hydrogels can build microchips. That is well known, and they can do so out of proteins. So what you see here is documentation that the spike protein of the coronavirus, that's also has been used in all of the injections, at pH of 4 is creating amyloid. Amyloid is something that can cause Alzheimer's dementia and rubbery clots. But at a pH of 7, which is what human beings, that is their normal pH, it creates hydrogel. And so the peptides of the hydrogels can be used for slow release systems, and it can be used for technology. MIT discussed that hydrogel is the brain-computer interface. Here you can see a schematic of the intracorporeal nano network. So you have neurons that are interfacing with the graphene in the shots, as well as what we're inhaling. They're creating these microchips, which we found are developing. And you have these hydrogel swimmers that contain the rubbery clots that are basically nano antennas that are then sending the information through the MAC address phenomena that you can detect from Bluetooth scanners to the cloud, and the biological information then is feeding the information into the digital twin in the metaverse to be controlled by artificial intelligence. What is important is that 26 teams, independent scientists worldwide, many did not find mRNA. They didn't find phosphorus and nitrogen, which are building blocks of mRNA. So what the heck did they inject? They found very many metals. They found these hydrogels, DNA impurities, which we know that were cancer causing. And there were many heavy metals like, cesium cesium, radioactive cesium, antimony, which can cause congestive heart failure, silicon, aluminum, titanium. Titanium and aluminum are needed in polymer chemistry to give the starch signal to self-assemble polymers. So gadolinium is a neurotoxic substance that's used for contrast MRIs. So many different metals, and these structures started to self-assemble. And graphene was also found. And this has now been published in international journals. So even though this information continues to be censored, Lorena de Blasi and my colleague Dr. Marcela Sangorin from the University of Namahagu in Argentina, they found 55 undeclared chemical elements in all vaccines around the world. Doesn't matter if it's Sputnik or COVID or AstraZeneca. This is a global attack on humanity. And what they found, that if you see here, graphene oxide is fluorescent, and the same fluorescence was found in Pfizer Covilo injections. And it turns out that these 54 elements were very complex semiconductor technology metals that were used. For example, lanthanides, which are paramagnetic. You may remember the people who got the shots and who started to be magnetic. But the lanthanides are also, they're fluorescent, so they give off light signals that can be used for micro-robotic photovoltaics. And then also they're used for the semiconductor nanotechnology. Even uranium has been found in the shots, which is also being sprayed via geoengineering. So this is a radioactive element that will accelerate the cancer production, which we're now seeing exploding. Cancer rates in the 40-year-olds have quadrupled since the rollout of the pandemic as part of the depopulation agenda. So Dr. Youngmi Lee from South Korea also documented 54 COVID-19 vaccine vials, and she found 3 to 4 million nanoparticles per milliliters of COVID injections. And she long-term incubated these over 2 years and clearly found that continued technology was there that was enhanced via Wi-Fi, 5G, EMF, that was decimating sperm counts and the human blood, and that also vaccinated men, for example, were still replicating this nanotechnology in their sperm 2 years after they got the shot. So here you see my analysis of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vials. And what you can see is this millions of nano and micro robots. These are these blinking lights. This is exactly what Professor Ido Balanchet, who collaborated with Pfizer, discussed, that in one vaccine he could put 1,000 billion nanorobots. And this is exactly what we found. So you see here a higher magnification, about 2,000 times, and you see how the little blinking lights, so they are interacting through photovoltaics and photo-optics, are building microchips, very elaborate microchips. And here you see different structures that they are building, and you see this bubble liposomal-like structure within them. This is being self-assembled, and you see these long filaments that are also being assembled. So I left the drop of the Pfizer vial on the slide, and this is about 6 days later of what has assembled. And so then what I started to really be the whistleblower about is this phenomenon called shedding. So the Pfizer documents state that if an unvaccinated man inhales the air around a vaccinated woman, that man can transmit the vaccination to another unvaccinated woman. These are self-spreading biological weapons. They knew about the shedding. It's in the Pfizer documents. So we started to see these filamental structures in unvaccinated blood. La Quinta Columna, which is a group from Spain, did a lot of research, and they heated up a drop of the COVID-19 vials, and these filamental structures very rapidly self-assembled. And at the same time in the United States, I was working with Clifford Carnicom from geoengineering, and he in 2014 was already documenting the growth of Morgellons, which is an advanced nanotechnology, synthetic biology that's been sprayed via geoengineering for decades now, and was the playground, really, the testing ground before this COVID-19 rollout. Same thing, these people would have microchips come out of their skin, and they were called delusional, but it was the exact same chemicals. So then we did a lot of experiments together. We took unvaccinated blood and we just exposed it to a low-level electrical current for 2 hours. And the unvaccinated blood that looked normal developed into this filamental structure, rubbery clot formation, because the electricity enhances the self-assembly. We then used near-infrared spectroscopy to look at the chemical composition. And what we found was vinyl. Vinyl is polyvinyl alcohol, which is plastic. We find alkenes and polyenes. That's polyethylene glycol, the lipid nanoparticles that were used in the shot. We also found polyamides. Polyamides is nylon, spider silk, it is Kevlar, it is military-grade substances that cannot be degraded. We also found silicone and sulfur. So then what we did was we looked at vaccinated blood, unvaccinated blood, and we then compared it with this isolate of this, what he called cross-domain bacteria, and the chemical signatures matched. So hydrogel was found, polyene, polyethylene glycol, formalic alcohols, polyamides. And this was then later confirmed by Dr. Speicher, who in the COVID wilds found genetic material that was encoding dragline spider silk. Spider silk is a polyamide. It is used in military science for example, create armor for the U.S. Army. You cannot degrade this stuff. So then what we did was we did electrical conductivity studies on the human blood. And our blood is literally is a carrier for our life force. And so we found that the life force was decreased by up to 47%, the electrical conductivity. Imagine somebody's hijacking half of your life force. So this is the reason why we've been seeing an accelerated aging process with diseases of aging like tubal cancers, like strokes, heart attacks in young people very rapidly. And electrically, we are the battery for the technology. The only difference that we found between vaccinated and unvaccinated blood was this. We used an electromagnetic spectroscopy from 0 to 25,000 hertz. And at 4 hertz, the vaccinated blood was extremely sensitive. 4 hertz is a frequency that's used by HAARP, High Active Auroral Research Project. It's an electromagnetic ionospheric manipulation that is actually used for mind control and brain control. And 4 hertz is also the frequency that brain waves of the subconscious mind use. So the people who are vaccinated are being externally influenced through extremely low electromagnetic frequency, and their subconscious mind is being programmed. Here you see Here you see vaccinated blood, 30 milliliters drawn, just left to sit for 4 hours. The cells come down here. This is the plasma, and you see that there's rubber that develops. And here you see the clot, and here you see the same rubbery clot formation. This is a video of just showing you how hard this thing is. It is absolute rubber. You cannot pull it apart. And I received these clots and did microscopic analysis on them. And what you see here, these blue filaments, are nanotechnology. And you can see here blood from an unvaccinated person. And you see these blue filaments. By the way, nothing in the body is supposed to be blood. We are inhaling this stuff because it's being sprayed on humanity. And you see the same blue filaments in these rubbery clots. My big breakthrough happened when I received embalmed blood from somebody who had died 8 months before and who had the COVID shots. I was given this blood by the embalmer Richard Hirschman, who was a whistleblower about the rubbery clots. And I looked at it under the microscope. You see the same filaments, and then you see this. This is the embalmed blood, and you see that the nanotechnology continues to replicate at a really alarming speed. And all of these bubbles, these liposomes, contain nanorobots and microrobots. And this doesn't stop after death, which is absolutely consistent with the research of my colleague, Dr. Pedro Chavez from Comusav, who documented that the dead vaccinated people continued to emit MAC addresses from their gravesite. Here you see a 4,000 times magnification. You see the liposomes, and you see how these the microrobots are blinking. This is about 5 micrometers in diameter, is a red blood cell. And so this was my big breakthrough in understanding how this technology replicates. And then I re-looked at the same blood sample a year and a half later. So this person has been dead over 2 years. And what you can see here, that the liposomes continue to self-replicate with the nanorobots in them. And that even after almost 2.5 years, the process is not stopping. So when people are asking me, well, when do the vaccinated people stop shedding? The answer is never. So here what you see now, the documentation of unvaccinated blood. I am a specialist in actually treating vaccine injury in the unvaccinated from shedding. And I started to see the exact same thing that was seen worldwide in vaccinated blood in the unvaccinated. You see here unvaccinated blood, a liposome with nanoparticles in it. Then I filmed how it is actually utilizing the blood, creating these polymer filaments, and all of these liposomes are creating these large structures. And you can see that they're using the blood here, creating larger and larger structures. Here you see that the liposome is spilling its innards, its microrobots, to become part of the filament. And you see different forms of this. So this here is an advanced nanotechnology with the microrobots and the integrated circuitry actually happening. Here you see how these nanorobots are building the filament. You can clearly see these bubbles. So these are nanowires that are in the blood, continuously self-assembling, and they're building mesh networks. This is blood that in a network is being hijacked by the technology and eventually used up so much that it becomes just a rubbery clot. But you see how extensive this is, and this is what I see in 1 drop of blood. This is a microrobotic swarm. Unvaccinated blood. The reason why I know that this is a robot, nothing in the human body is supposed to blink yellow, orange, blue, or green. And you see how it is eating up the blood. The blood is in distress. It's completely clumped together. The red blood cells, they have an electronic zeta potential that's being hijacked and harvested. And you see here in a larger magnification how the cells are being attacked, exactly what it says in the nanotechnology literature. So 30 minutes after I just continued to film this blood is completely dead. So it has been harvested and it is now a gravesite of cells. The robots have moved on and this is now a rubbery clot. So then what we did was we received deceased clots from vaccinated people. We received clots from living vaccine-injured people and from unvaccinated people. It looks like a piece of rubber. And the microscopy, it looks exactly like Morgellons filaments, which is this advanced nanotechnology. The near-infrared spectroscopy shows exactly the same thing. The polyamides, polyvinyl alcohol, which is plastics, and polyenes and alkenes, which is polyethylene glycol. And then what we did, we tried to dissolve this stuff, and we used the most strongest acids we could find: strong sulfuric acid, lye, acetone. We used alcohol, toluene, stripper, petrol, DEET, fuel injector cleaner. You cannot break this stuff down once it has assembled. So now what we see here, so you see highly contaminated, unvaccinated blood. These filaments here are the construction zones. The blood is in distress because it's in low formation. It's clumping up. This is not transporting oxygen. And then you can see here that unvaccinated, and so here is a rubbery clot from unvaccinated individuals. And in the clot itself, you see the same liposomes and sheets of polymers. You see the same bubbles that are using up the red blood cells. And then here you see how the micro robots are literally building the clot itself. So I filmed that actually to have the proof of what I am saying. And then what you see here, my colleague Felipe Reitz from Brazil, he was using a specialized CT thermogram. He changed the camera setting so it's much more sensitive than the usual thermogram. And you can see this is a vaccinated individual, the amounts of microclotting in their system. These are superficial veins. It is extraordinary. And regular doctors, they cannot find this stuff. This is a 23-year-old who was COVID-19 injected. You could see this large clot in the leg that was later confirmed via ultrasound and then was operated on. So the important thing is that all medical injectables also have this stuff. This is my microscopy on Lantus insulin, long-acting insulin. You can see the same, micro robots, and they are self-assembling hydrogels. So the people who have to use these medications, and you can also look exactly in the description of the drugs, it has multiple hydrogels in there, and they're using this in medications. So here you see the analysis of the University of Colorado Boulder. So we blew the whistle that dental anesthetics have nanotechnology, and the University of Colorado showed that articaine hydrochloride with epinephrine contains graphene. So here, this is microscopy. I looked at the same dental anesthetic. You can see these liposomes are moving very, very quickly. But what I want to show you is that in this area here, how fast the microchips develop. So here you see how it self-assembles a microchip. And if you just wait a couple seconds, here's another microchip that self-assembles. And here's another one. So this is extremely rapid self-assembly. And I've had now patients come to my office from all over the world, who, for example, got dental anesthetics, who developed turbo cancers afterwards. They were emitting MAC addresses. The blood looks terrible after these dental anesthetics. So here you see a case of mine, a patient who got dental anesthetics and was developing these rubbery clots nonstop for 3 days. It was complete. This is the microchips. This is the nano and micro robots swarming, and they're hijacking the electricity from the blood as an energy source, and they're building, self-constructing the polymers here. So I have all of the proof if only the world would listen. So this is now visible in all people. I have not seen anybody who has clean blood in the last 2.5 years. And you see that these robots are artificial intelligence controlled. They know exactly where to go and what to do. Here you see another unvaccinated blood sample using the blood, creating these microchips. Then, for example, here you see how intelligent the micro robots are. You see a filament here, and you see how fast these robots are moving. We have calculated that their speed is about 55 miles per hour. And they are able to, flow through and go around obstacles. They can communicate with each other through frequencies. And they also interact with, again, 5G, with, the cell phones, the Wi-Fi towers, etc. So what you see here is that this is also being sprayed from the sky. So nanoparticle contamination cover, Dane Wigington discussed with a whistleblower that 40 million tons of metal nanoparticles and graphene oxide are being sprayed worldwide, and that we're inhaling it, and all of the animals are inhaling it. So they're saying they want to do dimming of the sun and climate engineering. No, they are destroying our biospheres. This is why the species are dying, because they're being poisoned with aluminum, strontium, barium, which makes it impossible for the electrical systems of the plants to work. The animals are being poisoned, all for the purpose. These are the building blocks of smart dust. Smart dust is exactly the same thing as the nanosensors that are now in the human blood. You can see here the patents for atmospheric modification and geoengineering. What are they using? Polyalkene glycols and polyethylene glycol. Same stuff they put in the COVID shots. So here you see a rainwater analysis microscopy of what the rainwater looks like. And you see these pink filaments. And here you see human blood in my office. And you see the pink filaments. They end up in our blood and then in our organ system. The American Chemical Society has published articles that, for example, the human placenta now has 465 micrograms of microplastics per gram of tissue, or in the human brain in autopsy, there's about 7 grams of plastics in the human brain. This increased since 2020 by more than 50%. We are in a situation where the human species is facing an extinction level event, as is our biosphere. Here you see the blood of a squirrel, and you see that the same filament and nanotechnology are in them as well. This is a deer that I analyzed its blood. Same technology is in these animals. This is a patient of mine who was on a carnivore diet. They ate a cow that was not vaccinated, was just grass-fed on their pasture, that had tremendous amount of polymers in their system, and the man was getting sicker and sicker. I looked at his blood, and you see that the cow blood and the human blood looks the same, because actually when you're consuming the polymers, it will contaminate you from your intestinal tract. The United States patent of Moderna, lipid nanoparticle compositions and method thereof, from April 2023 states that there are stealth nanoparticles in the COVID-19 injections that contain polyethylene, polyamide, which is nylon, spider silk, or Kevlar. They contain polyvinyl alcohol, exactly what we found, which is plastic. They even have polymetacrylate, which is super glue. Why would you inject super glue into human beings? Polyurethane and polystyrene is styrofoam. So this is in their own patents, and we found it in the blood. I believe this